And we're off and underway. Here comes the chase behind. This is a good move now. Lining himself up to the sprint. Is he going to take the stage? Yes, he is.
Hello and welcome to highlights of Stage 3 of this year's Tour of Britain. We're here at Beverley Racecourse where the riders are going to finish today after starting some 155 kilometres away, 100 miles in old money, I don't know what it is in furlongs, in Goole today in Yorkshire. Sure to be quite a windy one, but it's hard to look beyond a certain Dutch rider after we've had 2 days of King Coy. Stage 2 starting and finishing in Wrexham was a short, sharp shock of a stage of only 110 kilometres. The break wasn't expected to stick, but still one went. Of 4 riders, Jacob Scott, Callum Ormiston, Finn Crockett and Abram Stockman, only getting to around 30 seconds ahead of the marauding peloton behind. The KOM point in Ayton for the Cat 3 climb was won by Finn Crockett and Jacob Scott, a man, of course, who has won the KOM jersey on 2 previous occasions at the Tour of Britain.
Scott knows he's coming, but Stockman's pushing on hard now. Finn Crockett. Oh, Fouché's left it too late.
Stockman won the sprint in Johnstown, but soon after they were reeled in finally by the peloton.
And the catch is going to happen now.
A hectic finish with a bit of argy-bargy in the peloton saw a crash in the run-in, making it a small bunch.
In that roll, big crash, descent down, big violent crash.
And then they sprinted for the finish in Wrexham.
Bennett, aware that Van Poppel is just letting the wheel go, has to start sprinting. Van Poppel closes it up, Van Aert alongside him. Van Aert sprinting on for a position. Olaf Koy, and he'll hold on to the lead and extend his advantage.
2 wins in 2 days for Dutchman Olaf Koy means he stays at the top of the general classification after the Wrexham stage and will ride Stage 3 in the red, white and blue leader's jersey. His teammate, Belgian Wout van Aert, still second on the podium, which is rounded out by Irishman Sam Bennett, who missed out on the stage win again. I'm here with David Miller at Beverley Racecourse. Different kind of racing today, of course, but could be the same old after 2 in 2 for Olaf Koy, David. He's the form sprinter this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear, and especially with the team he has, and if ever there was a finish for Olaf Koy, it's here today. But there is talk of some crosswinds to go out towards the coast. We can but hope that's the case. We'll see. But otherwise, I think it's going to be pretty hard for anyone to overcome Jumbo-Visma and Olaf Koy.
What do you imagine the post-mortem was like for Bora Hansgrohe last night?
Yeah, complicated, I think, but to be fair as well, there wasn't much Danny Van Poppel could do, although we saw the frustration of Sam Bennett as he crossed the line. At the same time, in those final 600 metres, it's just absolute chaos. Danny Van Poppel did not know what was going on behind him, and it was Sam Bennett's job to be in front of him. Quite
aside from the big team of Jumbo-Visma doing the business into Wrexham yesterday, it was also another good day for Bolton Equity's Black Spoke and their man James Fouché in the Penarello King of the Mountains jersey. Really good start for that team here at the Tour of Britain.
Welcome. Stage 3, Goole to Beverley, another typical sunny British day. Pay attention to crosswinds. I really think it'll be reduced numbers today. We've got so many talented young Kiwi riders, we need to give them some exposure over in Europe.
And we know that Fouché's got a vicious sprint on him.
The tactic. Today we take care of Rory and Mark. Rory, you're to take Mark out of the last corner and as far to the front as you can. Took the step up this year from Pro Conti to Pro. It's definitely a stepping process, and the guys are getting more respect in the peloton. Each race we do, more respect in the peloton. Our other objective today, obviously, Fouche, go hunting some comms. Go look for some more points today because we can wrap this thing up.
James Fouché has proved to be by far the strongest climber in this group.
It's good fun. I've known all the Kiwi blokes on this team since I was, first started cycling under 15, so no, it's good fun. And the British blokes come along and add a nice touch to it as well.
Jacob, see how your legs are feeling today, mate, but it probably makes more sense to look for a move today with Fouche. If you're not in the break, I want you to keep the boys protected.
It's a bit like a family, actually, transferring from, like a British team the last few years, and we haven't necessarily got everything perfect this year, but yeah, we're still to a degree developing everything.
This is probably the biggest stage race we'll do this season. So gives us a chance to drill our lead out. It gives us a chance to evolve, almost like a workshop. We are still learning day by day by day, and we're adapting day by day.
Good to see the team doing well here, and certainly some riders who are firm fan favourites at the Tour of Britain, like Jacob Scott as well. Let's just look ahead to today's Stage 3, David, that finishes here on the outskirts of Beverley, just outside the racecourse. Could be a bit windy out there.
Could be a bit windy. I was speaking to Pete Kenyak last night, and he was looking at the wind charts, and it looked like off the coast we could be seeing a bit of crosswind. But at the same time, it's not very strong. You see it's blowing a little bit now. It hopefully will pick up as the day goes on. But I think today we're going to see a bit more of a traditional race, in the sense that the break will get a bit more time. There's no doubt there will be a break. But we've got a bit of a longer stage, and I think that allows, hopefully, a bit more hope for some of those breakaway riders who didn't try yesterday.
Big question is, though, when are the other teams, Ineos Grenadiers perhaps, going to try and start to animate this race? Because they're just sitting pretty at the moment, not doing an awful lot.
Well, I think up to them now, what they've got to do is let Jumbo-Visma do all the work and hope they tire themselves out ahead of the weekend. Jumbo-Visma are the strongest team here. They've not only got a GC main hope in Wout van Aert, they've also got the out-and-out fastest sprinter, Olaf Koy. So everyone's going to look at them to control it, and that's what they've got to do.
David, thank you very much indeed. Let's have a closer look now at today's Stage 3.
The 155-kilometre Stage 3 sees the riders setting off in a north-east direction towards the coast via 2 Category 3 King of the Mountains. Tothorpe after 40 kilometres, and then Langtoft some 30k further on. These climbs are unlikely to bother the riders, keeping fresh legs for later on in the stage. The peloton then turns south for a taste of the British seaside along the coast and a sprint at Skipsea. It's then back inland for an expected sprint finish at Beverley Westwood. Life in Goole has always centred around the docks, locks and canal basins, and it's home to the busiest inland port in the country. In the town centre there are several pubs and cafes to choose from, and the town has a lively and colourful marina. Beverley is a town that's been declared as one of the top places to live in the whole of Great Britain. Widely regarded as one of the world's best Gothic buildings, Beverley Minster opened back in 1225 and measures 333 feet long, making it larger than a third of England's cathedrals. Only a short walk separates the town's quaint shopping streets and its sprawling wood and grasslands, making it the perfect place for a walk and a picnic.
Really pleased to say I'm joined here on the finishing straight by Councillor Anne Handley, who is leader of East Riding of Yorkshire Council. And Anne, you made this magic happen. It's all down to you that the race is coming here today.
Well, actually, I would love, more than anything, Matt, to take the credit for all of that. However, I was asked the question, should we have the start and the finish of the third leg of Tour of Britain in East Riding? And I said yes. And then the officers have actually produced the magic. I have to be honest, they've been outstanding. And
of course, you organised the weather as well. How important is it to East Riding to have the Tour of Britain here today in terms of inspiring people to get out on their bikes and enjoy this marvellous countryside?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So from the residents' point of view, what a fantastic feel-good factor day we're having today. And I've been at Goole at the start this morning and I've come along and seen everybody out. It's wonderful. So that's good. Also, Beverley will be full later when it arrives here. So from a residents' point of view, it's a feel-good day. From a business point of view, they will also be enjoying today, and I'm really, really pleased about that.
Really pleased you made it happen, and take all the credit. I was down in Beverley having a coffee just half an hour ago. It is already buzzing. People are already looking forward to the race coming through. Thank you so much for your time. So, without further ado, let's get to our commentary of today's Stage 3 with David and Ned.
Thank you very much indeed, Matt. Yeah, do not adjust your sets. This is the Tour of Britain. This is Yorkshire, and this is another successive day of bright, uninterrupted sunshine. Off we go then, rolling out on today's third stage from the furthermost inland port in the British Isles. Some 80 kilometres, 50 miles in old money, inland, Goole. And again, the sunshine encouraging plenty of people, even down here at the start. This is a more the kind of crowd that you would be accustomed to seeing at a finish line rather than a start. But the Tour of Britain is really drawing out the spectators this year. It always does, but it's gone up a notch in this glorious early September weather that we've been enjoying. David Miller, today does genuinely, sometimes I think we're guilty of talking up the prospect of wind affecting the race, but today does seem to be almost perfectly slide rule aligned for exactly what the organisation would have hoped for when they put this route into the road book.
Yeah, I mean, one would hope so. Obviously, the beautiful weather is great for spectating, but not so much for watching an animated bike race. But there is the prospect of wind, and when we've seen the previous 2 stages and the 3 stages ahead, there's very few opportunities for the peloton to make the race, to put Jumbo-Visma under pressure. And today, from Bridlington going down the coast there is the opportunity that it could split up slightly.
Wout van Aert has ridden the race to perfection, and with each successive stage that ticks over, it becomes increasingly difficult to see how anybody can dislodge Jumbo-Visma and potentially Wout van Aert from their number from winning this bike race for the second time. He is in a fantastic place. Well, there's Fernando Gaviria, and it was quite something to watch him yesterday. He's now got that hand bandaged up. He took a lot of skin off in an early fall yesterday and wasn't able to grip the handlebars. Well, that has been bandaged up now, so hopefully Fernando Gaviria is going to get through another day of suffering. But again, I don't think he's going to be in the right condition to be sprinting today, should it come down to a bunch sprint.
But it's good to see he's actually holding that hood properly. Yeah, there's a rider who doesn't normally wear mitts, is now forced to wear bandages as mitts. That's a lesson to all juniors out there of why you wear mitts during races.
So 3 Uno X riders right on the front. That's not insignificant, potentially. Kilometre 0 is upon us. Mick Bennett is about to get the race underway. The flag is in his hand. Are we going to wait, though? Is everybody back? Yes, they are, seemingly. So right on cue on Kilometre 0. Stage 3 gets underway, and it's a cagey start. 154.7 kilometres. Global 6, the first of the teams to attack, though, getting up the road. Not going to be the last. Let's have a look. Looks round to see who's going to come with him. So Global 6 for the second day after Callum Ormiston's attack yesterday and his presence in the breakaway. One of his teammates there getting on the front foot. I think that might be Nicholas Sessler, who is very familiar to the Tour of Britain and has ridden it a few times, if that's right. And there's a reaction. It looks like it's Harry Tanfield in the light blue of TDT Unibet, and he's got a rider on his wheel, and it looks like it might be James Fouché in the King of the Mountains jersey.
Yeah, Fouché has to get up the road here, so it's interesting that he's going immediately himself rather than letting his teammates do the heavy lifting in the first part. He's obviously quite sure that the first attacks are going to be the definitive move.
If that's Fouché. Is that the... Yes, that is. Yeah, that's the King of the Mountains jersey, and it's Tanfield almost certainly with him. So 3 riders off the fronts. And they make the junction with ease as the rider from Global 6 just eases up a little bit, understanding that Tanfield and Fouché are coming across.
And 0 reaction from the peloton.
And that might be it. So a very, very formulaic. Yeah, it is Nicholas Sessler, Harry Tanfield and James Fouché. Those 3 riders, all very experienced at racing the Tour of Britain in breakaways, and that might well be it. They'll build their advantage now. The first categorised climb of the day, it's the climb of Tothorpe Land. James Fouché there, looking around and having a little word with Nicholas Sessler. I think the question being, are you interested in this? And Sessler's response, well, it's hard to read, but I would be very surprised if the Brazilian didn't try and take these maximum points here from James Fouché. Harry Tanfield knows that he's at a physiological disadvantage. He does have 8 points in the King of the Mountains competition, but that's not enough to threaten James Fouché's 17 points at the moment with the 2 Cat 3 climbs. But Sessler is intent on opening his account here, I think, and I would imagine that the Brazilian is going to try and do his best to get on terms and even beat James Fouché if he can here. But it's a tall order. Fouché looked very strong on stage 1.
Fouché has looked very strong, but Sessler a little bit of an unknown quantity here, and that will be the case for Fouché as well. He won't know how fast Sessler is, but by the looks of it, Sessler is going to rely on Fouché and take his wheel and try and jump off him. Tanfield, not at all interested, just keeping the pace going. But yeah, it's up to Sessler. He has to try and score some points. He's got to score maximum points here because that's the reason they're up the road. That's the only thing they're going to gain from today. He should be going for it.
Not particularly steep, this climb at all. An average gradient of only around about 3.5%. 500 metres to go. It flattens out a little bit, if anything, towards the top. And Sessler is perfectly placed on the wheel of Fouché. And Sessler does have a bit of a sprint about him on flat terrain. So he's in exactly the place that he wants to be right now, on the wheel of the man in the King of the Mountains jersey. Although the other possibility here is, David, that when Fouché asked him, "Are you interested in the points?" Sessler might have said no, which would explain Fouché just riding on the front in the knowledge or the understanding that the Brazilian is going to hand him the points, and that looks increasingly like it might be the case.
It does, doesn't it? Because Fouché is not playing any games there. If he was worried about Sessler, he'd be slowing down, not leading him out like this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That taking of the bottle there from Sessler, I think, tells you everything you need to know. That he is not in this to disrupt James Fouché's. He's even sharing a drink there with Harry Tanfield. So they're going to roll through here, and James Fouché is going to pick up another 4 points in the King of the Mountains competition. That'll take him to 21 points. 7 points ahead of his nearest rival, Zeb Kiffin, who's back in the peloton. So rather disappointingly, perhaps, an understandable accord has been struck between these three riders. James Fouché will be very satisfied with the fact that he is almost assured now of 8 points in the King of the Mountains competition in total on today's race.
Yeah, these three riders have decided that they're just going to keep the harmony, keep riding together, and let Fouché take the prize that he is out there chasing. All of Movistar almost on a morale-boosting entourage around Gaviria.
Yeah, he cut a very lonely figure yesterday, Fernando Gaviria, one way or another. It was kind of like almost uncomfortable to watch. You were trying to read his body language, David, and I think you were quite right. It looked at times like it felt like he was a rider who was just about to pack it all in.
Yeah, he looked like a rider who was told to just stay there, not to get off. And that's the Direct Sportif's job sometimes. And then Direct Sportif will also talk to the teammates to, not on the radio, he'll probably, if they come back to the car, he'll ask them to go and say some encouraging words to Gaviria, keep him in the race, because genuinely it looked like Gaviria was ready just to pack it in yesterday.
Peloton making their way up Tothorpe Land as well into the last 600-700 metres of the climb. Nothing more than a gentle ripple on an otherwise pretty flat parcours. And they'll drop off that, continuing into their headwind. The next climb doesn't start for another, well, 30 or odd kilometres. The climb of Langtoft begins at 82.1 kilometres to go. No bother whatsoever at the moment for Olaf Koy, who's a little bit detached from his Jumbo-Visma teammates who are all across the front. And the race leader of the Tour of Britain has dropped, and the hot favourite to take another stage victory today has dropped right to the back of the bunch. Four Yorkshire flags, just for the avoidance of any doubt as to which county we find ourselves in. And look at those treetops there. That's not the helicopter that's doing that, that's the North Sea that is rustling those leaves. The waves will be crashing in when we get to the Bridlington coast. Oof, that's Gaviria. In a little bit of difficulty there again, just closing that gap. And it's not just to reiterate, it's not just the fact that he has scraped some skin off the palms. He has got a knee injury that is really causing him some discomfort that he sustained at the Glasgow Worlds. And there's a little bit of inflammation. Of course, there was one King of the Mountains point available from the peloton, and it was swept up with a matter of total indifference by Jos van Emden there. He picked up 1 point for fourth place at the top of the climb. Tothorpe Lane then, behind us, the first of two categorised climbs in the Pinarello King of the Mountains competition. James Fouché taking 4 points. He moves to 21 in total, and his grip on the King of the Mountains competition, nothing like definitive yet. We're only 2.5 stages into an 8-day stage race, but he is extending it, and it's a good day out for the man from Bolton Equities Blackspoke. Well, it's the last categorised climb of the day, and that's the steeper section ahead of them. It's only 1.5 kilometres in length, as I've said. Pretty gentle start, but then it kicks up a little bit more severely, the average gradient being something over 4%. Nicholas Sessler conceded to James Fouché, and Harry Tanfield's receiving a bit of support from the side of the road in his home county of Yorkshire, doing exactly what he did at the previous climb, which is setting a pace that he can feel is relatively comfortable, and just working on the front of this trio of riders. It's all about James Fouché's desire to pick up what will almost certainly be another 4 points for the win at the top of this climb. And at 1 minute and 37 seconds, they won't be caught by the bunch who aren't at the moment remotely bothered by what the breakaway is doing up the road. They're just thinking about how this might play out today in the bunch with these winds that are affecting the race at this point. And the closer they get to Bridlington and the coast will become more and more of a consideration.
Yeah, and that whole section from Driffield to this climb, which is very clearly on the map that all the teams will have known about, and all the direct sportifs. Jumbo-Visma have just used that nervousness to their advantage and haven't had to ride during that whole section.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they just dropped back and let the others do it for them, didn't they? Tom Pidcock's nickname, resounding off this Yorkshire climb under this wonderful canopy of late summery leaves that are being animated by a strong, hot wind. A Yorkshire star at the front of the race in Harry Tanfield, and an even bigger Yorkshire star in the diminutive shape of Tom Pidcock, who still harbours hopes of winning this Tour of Britain, which he came close to doing in the curtailed edition last year before the race was halted by the death of the Queen. Now then, where is the top of the climb?
They're approaching it very rapidly, and I wonder if Fouché is going to come around, or whether agreement's been made. No, they're coming around.
Well, if the distance to go is correct, we've got another 400-500 metres to go. 79.8 kilometres to go is... There we go, 500 metres to go to the top of the climb. It flattens right out here. Neatly stacked hay bales to the right. And somewhere in the distance and over that horizon is Bridlington and the coast. They've reached Bridlington with 64.2 kilometres to go, so around about 16 kilometres from where they are now. And the reason we keep stressing Bridlington is that's where they switch into a southerly direction and go on the coastal road for a sustained 36 kilometres on the coastal road. At which point it is a cross-tail wind coming straight off the North Sea at times.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see quite a battle from the peloton into Bridlington to make sure that all the teams are coming out of there, because also coming through the town is going to string it out.
Here we go, here's the top of the climb, even though it's pretty flat here. James Fouché duly picks up another 4 points and moves to 25 and extends his lead over Zeb Kiffin to 11 points in the King of the Mountains competition. Nicholas Sessler picking up a second consecutive second place. He's now got 6 points. Harry Tanfield, incidentally, by finishing third twice, has moved to 12 points in the King of the Mountains competition. So, really good day for James Fouché. Picked the right day to get in the move. The move was exactly the right kind of riders alongside him who weren't interested at all in the King of the Mountains competition. So, unopposed, Fouché has managed to sweep up 2 more victories at the 2 Cat 3 climbs. Nothing like a done deal yet, though, the King of the Mountains competition. Plenty more racing to go, and that is a jersey that probably won't be decided until we get to stages 7 and 8.
And Jumbo-Visma reassume their position on the front. I have a feeling it will be relatively short-lived, because, as I said, in the arrival towards Bridlington, I think we're going to see a lot of nervous teams coming to the fore, and perhaps this time Jumbo-Visma will hold that position, because they are going to be wanting to be right at the front in their entirety as they exit Bridlington. Bora Hansgrohe, been ever vigilant today. Forever on Jumbo-Visma's wheel. Ineos Grenadiers a little bit cooler. They were there where they needed to be, entering Driftfield, but they're not getting too mixed up with just the routine riding on the front.
It's one of the beauties and subtleties of stage racing, isn't it? That a start list before the race gets underway will only tell you so much. But after a couple of days of racing, a pattern starts to emerge. And people understand where everybody sits within that pattern. That's Jos van Emden, incidentally, picking up another 1 point in the King of the Mountains competition for 4th place. And it's been interesting to watch Ineos Grenadiers approach the first 3 days of racing. On the first day, very much on the front foot, very much the dominant team almost. Especially in the early stages of that race. Yesterday, a little bit less visible, and today, considerably less visible. They've kind of understood where Jumbo-Visma are at and where they're at. They've understood the shape of the race, how to race it, and as a result, they've just drawn in their horns a little bit. Well, as confirmed then, the final climb of the day is done, the Langtoft climb, and once again, it's exactly the same 1, 2, 3, 4 as we had at the first climb of the day. James Fouché, most notably of all, picking up another 4 points and winning the second Cat 3 climb of the day. Heading towards the only intermediate sprint of the day, and it looks like these riders are going to be out front to take the points on offer. Not that Harry Tanfield is seriously considering a tilt at the points competition, unless you feature in the mix for stage wins. That jersey is going to elude you at the Tour of Britain, and he knows already that Olaf Koi's got a huge 50 points in that competition. There's a small cash reward available at the sprint, and that would be the primary motivation, as well as just minor bragging rights for these 3 riders with a 20-second advantage. 500 metres to go until they get to Skipsea, and then they'll turn right again and a little bit closer to the actual coast, and possibly a little bit more exposed on the exit of Skipsea to the crosswinds, which are undoubtedly there, albeit the actual course of the route has sheltered the peloton from the worst excesses of the wind so far. But here at Skipsea, they hit the coast again.
Yeah, and looks like Harry Tanfeld's going to take those points. No one's going to contest him for it. Fouché, who has now stopped riding completely in this move.
And Harry Tanfield's doing more and more, so appropriate enough, I think, that Nicholas Sessler allows Harry Tanfield to take that small cash prize. Tanfield is doing the lion's share of the work in this trio of riders at the moment. And here's the right-hand turn. Here's the bunch. And again, they're on warning here at Skipsea. They know what I've just articulated, that this is another slight and subtle directional shift here that could just open the race up again to the conditions which have been hanging over as a threat the peloton all day. Confirmation then of the sprint results. Let's have a look at that. Harry Tanfield from the breakaway ahead of Nicholas Sessler and James Fouché. The Norwegian champion Fredrik Tversnes picked up 3 points ahead of Carlos Verona. Accidentally and incidentally, they just happened to find themselves on the front of the peloton when they came through around about 15 seconds later. At Skipsea, that's it. Both the climbs and the intermediate sprint are done. Harry Tanfield continues to set the pace, and the peloton has eased up. So the 2 riders at the front now, just Sessler and Tanfield, 2 very different physiques, are going to have to plough on because the peloton doesn't want to catch them. And as a result, they've got a lead of 30 seconds with 41.5 kilometres remaining. And eventually they'll pick up a tailwind on the run into Beverley, which is going to host a bunch sprint, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. Welcome back. Just outside 10 kilometres to go then, and what had been a fairly pedestrian, a fairly ordinary looking stage exploded into life, primarily when St Piran launched an audacious 3-man move. There was an instant response to that from Jumbo-Visma, who looked like briefly they were going to shred the peloton, and then as they switched and headed into a tailwind 28 kilometres from home, everything exploded, and a 9-man rider group got about 20-30 seconds up the road. That was whittled down to just these 2 riders, Matt Bostock and Niels Pollitt. Movistar have made the difference here. Trinity Racing as well getting involved, backing their young American sprinter Luke Lamperty and putting a rider on the front at a critical moment in the race where the time gap is holding at around about 10 seconds and we're well inside the final 10 kilometres.
Yeah, unfortunate for Niels Pollitt and Bostock that they are being chased by Movistar, because Jumbo-Visma...
They were beginning to run out of resource, weren't they?
They were.
Pollitt's almost on the limit now. Bostock willingly, gamely in this position because he'll commit until there is no hope whatsoever left. But Trinity Racing getting involved. The British Continental team. Luke Lamperty, their American sprinters, had one top 10 so far and didn't feature in the sprint into Deansgate on the first day, out of position. But the man who's moving to quick step is getting the backing of one of his younger teammates there as Movistar come through again. 6 seconds now, they are bringing them back, they will be caught. I don't think Bostock and Pollitt are going to make it on this occasion, but it was a great move and it looked like it might be very, very difficult to catch indeed.
Yeah, it has forced action from Movistar. Really interested to see them racing so well, and especially Serrano, who was looking fantastic. Unfortunate to miss that move by Niels Pollitt, but the way these teams are riding, it was going to be difficult. But Movistar, I think, are not just riding for the sprint here, they're riding for GC.
Absolutely. Gonzalo Serrano, last year's winner. The biggest result of his career by far was the victory in the Tour of Britain. He's come to this race fully intending to try and do it again and win back-to-back editions of the Tour of Britain. And had that group stuck, and had he got off the front, he might well have come very close to sealing it here.
Yeah, because without Movistar riding, not sure Jumbo-Visma could have controlled the race.
Yeah. These are the things that stage racing hinge on occasionally. Such a complicated jigsaw. About 7 kilometres from home, Niels Pollitt looks around and knows that he'll have to live to fight another day, and this move won't go clear. Bostock will push on, though. Pollitt gives up, and Bostock pushes on at least to try and secure the favour of the jury who decide on the Combativity Award for each day of racing. Just one rider off the front now, and that is the Isle of Man's Matt Bostock in the purple colours of Bolton Equities Black Spoke.
So now looks like it's falling back into Jumbo-Visma. Bostock pushing on. A little bit calmer now as the team's trying to save. So counter-attack going on the left, is it? Yes, trying to.
Or is he just moving on to the front?
Possibly, can't quite see what team that is.
I think it's the Q36.5 team, I don't know. Simon Synok, their Polish sprinter, would be the target of their efforts. Actually, it's a Great Britain team pushing on now, backing Ethan Vernon. So a big show of support for Ethan Vernon, and that's a good showing from the Great Britain team, predominantly made up of track, of youngsters who've forging their young reputations on the track in the Great Britain Academy, and they're right on the front of this bunch now, 6 kilometres from home in Beverley.
Jumbo-Visma just drifting back, staying cool. They've only got Affini and Van Hooijdonk, which is the situation they've had in the other days coming into the final.
I misidentified those jerseys, forgive me. It was indeed the Q36.5 team. Those grey jerseys looking a bit white in this bright sunshine. But Great Britain's still there and represented towards the front.
Trinity Racing battling, trying to hold that position from Vlaanderen. Q36.5 deciding that they want to be the ones that take it in through 5Ks.
Two different options for them. Nicolo Parisini, probably not their preferred sprinter. Simon Synok, formerly of CCC, will be their sprinter for the day. So hitting the front, Damien Howson and Mark Donovan involved in the lead-outs then for their Polish sprinter. And Luke Lamperty getting the protection of two teammates there from Trinity Racing, 5.1 kilometres from home. DSM looking round to see where Casper van Ouden might be, their young Dutch sprinting star from DSM.
No sign of Bora Hansgrohe yet either. They haven't got Niels Pollitt to deliver them in this final, which is normally his role. So they're going to have to think differently.
And also, David, Jumbo-Visma have disappeared from the front completely. Just drifting around, waiting. They don't need to control the race at this point. They can allow others to do it.
I think it's a little bit of a safer run-in today, or let's say less technical. And I think they're using that to their advantage with these wider roads, just drifting around, using all the other teams. Ineos Grenadiers now coming to the fore. Complete team.
So they've got themselves organised. DSM on the left-hand side of the road, Ineos Grenadiers on the right-hand side of the road. That's where the action is. Trinity and Luke Lamperty, Q36.5, switching over to that side of the road, and Jumbo-Visma just drifting around, playing the waiting game. It's a hard final kilometre, that's worth noting as well. It drags uphill, albeit blown on by a tailwind in the final kilometre, but it's tough nonetheless to the line as Bora Hansgrohe surge up on the left-hand side of the road to assert themselves at the front, riding for Sam Bennett today.
Jumbo-Visma still just holding a little bit of a further back position, a little bit different to what they've done in the other days. But still, with these wide roads, there's no problem for them to punch up at any time, especially when they've got Wout van Aert.
Magnus Sheffield, the young American, racing for the first time since his crash at the Tour de Suisse alongside Edie Skelling through 4 kilometres to go as Uno X hit the front now.
Here comes Affini doing what he can with what little he's got left with Nathan van Hooijdonk in his wheel, then Wout van Aert. Olaf Koy, no doubt, glued to Wout van Aert's wheel, just at the bottom of the screen there.
TDT Unibet also getting involved. They've had 2 top 10s so far from Davide Bomboy, their sprinter, and they're looking to do that one more time or even go one better than that. Uno X, though, hit the front and take control. TDT Unibet, one rider pulling out of the line there, can do no more in support as Uno X assert themselves at the front.
Wout van Aert's just lost the wheel of Nathan van Hooijdonk there. He's going to have to fight his way back through. Affini doing a great ride considering the chase he'd done before. Wout van Aert there, he has punched out, moved through. Olaf Koy on his wheel. So they've managed to find themselves in prime position again when they need to be now using Ineos Grenadiers, though.
That's all the usual suspects there from that team, from Jumbo-Visma, Edoardo Affini with those pink shades, very identifiable, the Italian. And Wout van Aert, who hasn't had to do that much work in the final 20 kilometres yet. He's going to be deployed as that final lead-out man. That devastating turn, though, to deliver, they hope, a 3rd consecutive victory at the Tour of Britain for Olaf Koy, the race leader. Tom Pidcock with a full-on lead-out now for the Ineos Grenadiers. They are riding to place Pidcock as high up in the pecking order of the finishing line as they possibly can, and who knows, pull off a surprise win. But he's up against some formidable sprinting talent.
Yeah, we did question whether Ineos Grenadiers would do this in the final.
And they are.
They are.
They are.
And there you go. Affini's sitting back there. Van Hooijdonk, as we've seen, has been the final deliverer in that kilometre to go. So let's see if that's what they're doing. They're just using Ineos Grenadiers, hoping that they can take them all the way to 1K to go.
2K to go, and the Ineos Grenadiers are beginning to whittle down their resource. Tom Pidcock's just got 2 riders in front of him now. On the wheel of Luke Rowe, who is positioning him, or actually it's Ben Turner in this case, positioning him in the perfect spot as Jumbo-Visma do sweep to the front with Edoardo Affini. Don't forget how much work Affini has done to this point. It's almost beggars belief that he can go again with 2 kilometres to go.
Let's see if Affini can take them from 2 kilometres to 1 kilometre to go. That's what they need him to do, to hand over to Van Hooijdonk with 1K to go, to take Wout van Aert to 500 metres to go.
And he's got to keep the pace high, deter anyone from doing an attack here as Bora Hansgrohe move up with Ryan Mullen and Danny Van Poppel trying to lead out Sam Bennett to that elusive victory. Bennett boxed out to the podium places yesterday. His teammate Danny Van Poppel finishing in 2nd place. Jumbo-Visma with Edoardo Affini now sweeping round, and Affini is going to take it to 1 kilometre, and then they will do that script again where Nathan Van Hooijdonk will take up control before Wout van Aert delivers the lead out for Olaf Koy. Jumbo-Visma once again from all the chaos emerge right at the front of the race with the same order of riders doing the same thing for a 3rd consecutive day.
It looks like Bora Hansgrohe rider is on the wheel of Olaf Koy. I can't see if it's Sam Bennett or Danny Van Poppel, but there we go. It is exactly what we've seen in stage 1 and stage 2.
Yesterday it was Affini at this point. Today it's Nathan Van Hooijdonk, and Van Hooijdonk will go deep here before Van Aert on this testing finale. 1 kilometre to go now for the peloton of the 3rd stage of the Tour of Britain, with Nathan Van Hooijdonk, the Belgian ruler and domestique, about to set up and unleash Wout van Aert as Great Britain looking round, hesitating slightly, trying to get Ethan Vernon into the optimal place. Vernon there, picking the wheel of Olaf Koy. Bennett barging him, trying to barge the young British rider out of the way. That's it now. Van Aert on the front. Van Aert leading out Olaf Koy. Bennett getting the better of Vernon for the wheel of Max Canter, and Ethan Vernon tussling one another for the wheel of Sam Bennett. Vernon imposing himself there. Van Aert still on the front, inside 500 metres to go. It's uphill to the line. Van Aert going deep here. Koy waiting, poised to pull the trigger. Bennett on his wheel. Bennett perfectly placed. Koy goes. Bennett responds. 200 metres to go. The Irishman holding the wheel. Can he get round him? Vernon is distanced. Koy is approaching the line. Bennett pushing him all the way. But Koy makes it 3 out of 3. The man is perfection at this Tour of Britain. Another victory for Olaf Koy.
And another victory for Jumbo-Visma. It was a little bit harder than it has been. They had to drag their teammates out as far as they could. Each of them doing a stellar job. Affini from 2 to 1, well, actually just before, then Van Hooijdonk doing a massive turn, and Wout van Aert, each of them doing exceptional turns to deliver this man, Olaf Koy, who, that's the closest we've seen it, but Sam Bennett is looking like he's improving.
He's knocking on the door, Sam Bennett, but it remains shut. But Olaf Koy had to go deep there.
Here you can see this is Van Hooijdonk doing his turn there. The GB team do a great job getting Vernon up there, and then Vernon goes into a battle of his own. But at the moment, as Van Hooijdonk pulls, just flicks his elbow, hands over. Here we have Wout van Aert. Can't quite see how far it is to go, but he realises now that he's got to go. There we go. Van Hooijdonk has gone so far. Now Wout van Aert starts sitting down. Look at this battle between Ethan Vernon and Sam Bennett. Can't get in that one. Goes to Max Canter. This is where the Vernon-Canter battle begins. Vernon somehow manages to get himself on Sam Bennett's wheel. Now Wout van Aert is still sitting down, not even begun the final lead out. You can see everybody is flat out now. Now Wout van Aert goes, and look at when he goes, Olaf Koy is in that slightly smaller gear, and it's Sam Bennett in that bigger gear, dances from Wout van Aert's wheel, goes on to Olaf Koy. Olaf Koy, this is the closest, there's no gap this time between him and Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett tries to get round, just about lifts it a little bit up to his back wheel, but can't do it. So there, Ethan Vernon getting pipped. No, he gets third place. Canter is coming through.
Well, Danny Van Poppel it was, and not Sam Bennett, who popped up to claim second place behind Olaf Koy. Ethan Vernon on the podium in third place, and Tom Pidcock picking up sixth place, which could be significant. Olaf Koy of Jumbo-Visma celebrates yet again on the podium as he marks 3 out of 3 victories. A perfect start for Olaf Koy, and that means he extends his advantage in the general classification. Everybody pretty much still on the same time. Koy from Van Poppel, Vernon moves up to 4th, Tom Pidcock to 7th, and Wout van Aert drops down to 5th place on GC. With that victory, Olaf Koy of Jumbo-Visma still has the lead in the cottages.com points jersey standings. And a good day for James Fouché of Bolton Equities Black Spoke. Thanks to his work in today's break, retains his lead and extends it in the black Pinarello King of the Mountains jersey.
Here on the finish line with Harry Tanfield. And Harry, you've been busy animating the race the past couple of days, getting into the break.
Yeah, thanks. It wasn't a plan to go on the break today, but there was no one on the front row to go with it. So the guys rode off, and yeah, again, I just jumped with it. And I don't regret it. It was quite a nice day out, and there was a lot of support on the road, so it was really nice.
Not only support on the road, but your car parked at the side of the road, and you waved to it. Can you just explain what was going on there?
Yeah, it's my friend who I lent the car to him for the end of summer, because it's just been off the road for the whole year, and I've not been in the country. So yeah, he's just looking after it, and he was going to come out and watch the race today. So yeah, he put it in a nice place, didn't go off-roading in it, so I was quite happy about that.
I don't know if you noticed, but the police stopped and had a good look at it as well. But luckily it wasn't towed, so it's in safe hands still. Harry, stay there for a second. We're going to have a quick look at tomorrow's Stage 4, which is in Robin Hood country.
The Tour's 4th visit to Nottinghamshire inside just 7 years represents another chance for the sprinters. Despite being the 3rd longest stage of this year's race, the route features a little over 1,200 metres of climbing. After the first climb at Kilton Hill, the race loops around and then drops south towards the sprint at Broughton, before the second KOM at Red Hill Lane. The last 85k sees the peloton snake through the Nottinghamshire countryside before the winner of the race's second visit to Newark-on-Trent is crowned close to the banks of its famous river.
Harry, quick word about Stage 4, and then we'll have a quick word about your bike as well. So what will you be looking to do tomorrow? What's the plan?
Not the breakaway again. Now that today was quite good and I found my legs, the first 2 days I really struggled a lot, and today my legs felt good, so I felt normal and definitely can help in the end of the race in the sprint with Joram and Davide.
And when you're out there, you're noticeable because you're a big lad, big strong lad, but the bike is noticeable as well. Let's have a quick look at this paint job. Yeah. Just, you know, this is kind of a new thing. Most bikes are sort of boring and black and muted colours, but this is a bit special, isn't it, this Cannondale?
Yeah, it's a bit different. Custom painted, and the guys designed it. They came up with a lot of different artworks in the plan, and they went with this one. And obviously it matches our team kit and the cars and the camper. So I think that, you know, obviously we're a bit of a different cycling team in that we're also a social media channel and company, basically. So I think that it's rightfully fitting that we have, you know, a different outlook on the sport, and it's not the same black or blue or red, whatever.
Absolutely right. Good to get noticed, and the wheels as well. Sadly, It's not my size, so you can keep that one, Harry. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good race tomorrow. Join us live for stage 4, 11 o'clock on ITV4, and highlights once again at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. See you then. Bye-bye.